Morning. Today I'd like to talk about the process for learning and the willingness to make mistakes. Usually when I teach, particularly beginners, a lot of the feedback that I get goes along the lines of, you see, the trouble is I can't get the breathing right. Like, when is it time to inhale and when is it time to exhale? And although there is a truth in what most practitioners, particularly advanced or seasoned practitioners, talk about, is that how yoga is very much about the breath. And that is true. But to an absolute beginner, it's not true. It's like, not only do you need to know when to inhale and when to exhale, you need to familiarize yourself with a bunch of pose names. Listen to the instructions of the teacher to come in, stay in the pose, and come out. It's like learning a brand new language. So to a beginner, it's more than just about getting the breathing right. When I was learning at the beginning of my career as a yoga teacher, I often felt then that what I was doing, when I think back, what I was doing was so structurally unsound. And, it was no one's fault. It was all that I knew at the time. And although a lot of practitioners came out probably bendier and stronger, it wasn't necessarily the safest way to practice. Also, from my own psycho-emotional space, during that time of my life, I was probably teaching a little bit more aggressively, and as a result of hiding behind my insecurities of being a beginner teacher and knowing what I was doing. And then actually I think back to those moments when I became so spiritual that when I reflect back, I actually want to make myself I actually made myself feel sick with some of the things that I was saying and singing and doing, and also making my students sing and do too. And I just want to say that, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, there'll always be room for improvement. And sometimes we can see that as we've totally screwed up and we've done something wrong, or we can choose to see it as a learning opportunity. I mean, one of the great things about learning is that when you make a mistake, it helps you to never make that mistake ever again. The other day I was writing a post, and I actually shared it on social media, about a muscle in the shoulder called teres minor. And a dear friend of mine who is also an anatomist wrote to me and said, I'm really enjoying reading your stuff, but there is a little bit of an incorrection here. You said that this muscle lifts the arm up, and it doesn't. And I was like, it does help to lift the arm up though. And then so we kind of got into that bit of discussion, and then as he was discussing his side more, I realized, no, actually he's referring to a very specific point that I'm not referring to at all. And when I look back at the text, I'd realized I had missed a word out. Where I had written, which is what he had read, was this muscle lifts the arm up. And what I had meant to write was this muscle helps to lift the arm up. And we both just burst into this huge cackle, and were there for a good 5-10 minutes or whatever. And I was cringing at the fact that it was already exposed to social media, and now people are gonna think I don't know what I'm talking about. And then what I learned from that was I need to not just write and reread, but I need to reread and reread and reread whatever it is that I've written. And I just want to say that it doesn't matter what you're doing or how you're doing it, there is always an opportunity to realize that you've made a little bit of a mistake, and it's okay to make a mistake. Like, just because I made a mistake about the way that I used to sequence yoga classes, it doesn't mean I'm going to never teach yoga again. It also means that just because I worked in a way that I felt at the time was spiritual, it doesn't mean that I can no longer have my own spiritual practices. And also, just because I made a slight mistake, it doesn't mean that I should stop writing blogs or stop teaching anatomy. This actually reminds me of when I was learning how to do inversions, particularly forearm balance and handstands. And the day that I became willing to fall was the day that I was willing to catch the hand. Let me start that again. The day that I was willing to fall was the day that I was able to hold these inversions. And you know what? Today I feel as though my hair's really greasy. I haven't washed it because there's a huge queue for the bathroom, and I really want to just go do yoga instead of mess around with my hair. And making an online video with greasy hair is also considered a mistake in some people's eyes, but I don't care.